Today, we're going to be talking about everything that you need to know about the traps so you can grow them the most effectively in the gym. So traps aren't only important for filling up your upper back and giving you a complete look from behind, pause on that, but they also help stabilize your shoulder, helping you push more weight, and also help prevent injury. Honestly, if I could go back in time when I was a noob to intermediate and show myself one video of a muscle group that I was going to neglect and cause issues down the line, honestly, it'd be this one right here. So before we can choose exercises to train the traps, we need to know their anatomy and their function so we can choose movements to target them effectively. So your traps are a huge kite-shaped muscle that mainly connect onto your spine, bottom of your skull, and shoulder blades, and can be broken down into 3 distinct sections. Each of these sections all work to move the shoulder blade in a different way, and you can figure out how they do that just by looking at the fibers. So to start, your upper traps are the section that most people think of when they hear traps, with the fibers attaching to the top of the shoulder blade to pull it upwards and inwards. Going a little bit down, you can see the mid-trap fibers run horizontally across your back, which means that they pull your shoulder blades straight together, resulting in a movement that moves your arms to make a T shape. And then your lower traps, they slope downwards, pulling the shoulder blades together and down, and when doing so, pull your arms into a Y shape. So when it comes to the lower and mid traps, for most people, including myself, they tend to be a little bit underdeveloped compared to your upper traps. This is because bigger, stronger muscle groups such as the lats tend to take over exercises that the mid and low traps are involved in, such as rows, pull-ups, and pull downs. Therefore, if you think your traps are weak, underdeveloped, or you just want them to grow more, it might be a good idea to throw in extra exercises to specifically target those areas that are needed. This way, they'll get a little bit more help with some extra volume outside of the stable back exercises they may be involved in, but we'll talk about that in a second. So when it comes to training your upper traps, shrugs are obviously the common answer that people go to. Although I don't think doing shrugs like this is necessarily bad and are definitely convenient, they definitely can be better. Remember, your upper trap fibers run inwards as well as upwards towards your midline. This means that pulling straight up doesn't actually follow the fibers of the upper traps and therefore may not be the best way to hit them. Instead, I like this variation a little bit better. By grabbing a bar, we can get our arms out wider, automatically pulling our shoulders more inwards as we shrug. When I do these, as I shrug up, I like to imagine that I'm trying to pinch my shoulder blades together behind the base of my skull. However, if shrugs aren't your thing, honestly, they're not my favorite to be completely honest, you can also try these. Honestly, I don't know what these are called, but by holding the cable out at an angle, you'll be much more able to shrug inwards as well as upward. As I lower, I really like to imagine that I'm really reaching my shoulder down and out to get the biggest stretch on my upper traps as possible. Next, for your mid traps, I would recommend trying out high rows. I personally find that doing an overhand grip allows me to feel my mid traps the best, but I also recommend experimenting with a neutral grip. Doing rows like this really eliminates a lot of lat involvement and really makes the mid traps do a lot of the work. So how I like to do these is I grab the bar outside of shoulder width, and don't be afraid of a little back rounding to get a little bit of better stretch on the mid trap fibers. Just make sure that you're using appropriate rate as to not hurt yourself. As I discussed in the last video, just make sure when you're pulling towards you to stick your chest out to really open up your shoulder joint and really let the muscles do what they need to do. However, if you want something quicker, classic face pulls will do the job just as well. Just make sure that you're really flaring those elbows out to make a T. However, if you really want to save time and not do extra sets for your mid traps, I've been adding 3 to 5 of these shrugs as an intensity technique to the end of my rowing, or just incorporate them in between each rep, and I definitely feel it the next day. And finally, for your lower traps, we need to get the shoulder blades down and together, and doing Y raises are great for isolating the lower traps. By doing these, you can see that your arms are in line with the fiber directions of the lower lats, putting them under the most amount of tension. As a side note, I really like doing these with cuffs instead of handles. It overall just feels a lot more stable, if you know what I mean. However, give them both a try and see which one works best for you. Also, if you don't really have access to a dual cable like this, you can do them with one arm, or if you don't have any cables at all, or are just starting out, you can also do these Y raises laying down on a bench. And if you want something that's sneaky hard, try doing these in a pushing variant, as these definitely humbled me a little bit. However, remember that your back is a huge collection of muscles that all work together to give you the best look possible. Click on this video right here where you learn about the other huge muscle group on your back so you can grow a demon back like from Baki.